that after 10 years his back gave out, but that's the world I come from. That's the household I grew up in. And because of his hard work and the help of our church, the help of our country, and the help of my community, I got a great education. I had every opportunity a young person could have. I've never forgotten it, and I never will. I'll be president for the people of this country. I got to introduce my wife, Jane. I almost got through this without introducing the best part of this team. It's Dick and Jane. There's nothing I can do about it, but I want to write a new chapter to the book. You've seen the book. See Dick and Jane run. See Dick and Jane skip. Well, I got a new one. See Dick and Jane go to the White House. So I'll just leave you with this.
Here I've got to introduce Jane Gephardt. Pat did it, and Pat is our great friend, and she loves Jane like I do. But Jane Gephardt is, it's Dick and Jane. That's the first thing you got to get that out of the way right away. You know, there are a lot of books on Dick and Jane. Dick and Jane run, see Dick and Jane do this, that, and the other thing. I think it's time for Dick and Jane to go to the White House.
Jane and my wife is coming in. She'll be in just a minute. Dick and Jane. Got to get through that. Just got to get it out of the way. You know, you have these books, Dick and Jane run, and Dick and Jane do this and that, and they got a dog named Spot and everything else. I got a new book, Dick and Jane Go to the White House. Big nomination, I'm going to beat George Bush in November 2004. I want to start by introducing my wife, Jane. It's Dick and Jane. Nothing I can do about that. We just got to get through it. Jane and I have been doing this together for 37 years. We were married in 1966, and we've been going door to door. We started as precinct captains in the 2nd Precinct of the 14th Ward. And our first job was to go door to door and meet every Democrat in the precinct. We met the Republicans too, but we didn't spend as much time with them, but we met everybody in the precinct. And she would be on one side of the street and I'd be on the other. Then I ran for city council twice, and she went door to door with me every time I went out, and we went through the whole ward this time, which is kind of like a county, would be in a rural area. And she was with me through 2 campaigns. I've run for the House 14 times, and she's been with me every time, door to door. She's on one side of the street, I'm on the other. Sometimes now when I introduce her, I choke up because of what she's done to help me. She's the best person I've ever met. She is my partner, and she's going to make one heck of a first lady of this country. Great time. Jane is my best friend. We've been married 37 years. It's Dick and Jane. Just got to get through that. There's nothing I can do about it. Spot and Puff are out in the car. They'll be in a minute. You know, I want to write a new chapter of this book, Dick and Jane Goes to the White House. Don't you think that makes sense?
Let's begin playing with this. Like father, like son. 4 years and another Bush is done. Thank you. About how to describe this president and what he's done. I finally figured it out. He's the vanishing president. Everything you care about is vanishing. Jobs, 3.3 million jobs have vanished since he's been president. 30,000 jobs have been lost here in Iowa since he's been president. 2.5 million people in just the last month lost their health care in this country since he's been president. Our clean environment is being lost since he's president. We're losing our allies by the day since he's president. We've lost the surplus that we produced in the Clinton years since he's president. Everything that we want to find, we're losing. We have lost Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein. They vanished. There's only one answer to this problem. We gotta make George Bush vanish. If you want to live like a Republican, you better vote for the Democrats.
We'll have him here in a moment. No spot. Can't go that far. Too much. Okay. Now let me put a little more on this set of issues that we're talking about. Let me first say that I believe this president we have now, even though he didn't get elected and got appointed, is the worst president that I've ever seen. He has wrecked this country at the end of the Clinton term, and then here comes W. In about 24 months, he's turned everything on its head. He doesn't have a clue of what to do. He's got tax cuts for the wealthiest, followed by tax cuts for the wealthiest, followed by tax cuts for the wealthiest. He's got to go. We got to get rid of him. Friends, we'll do better for you too. We do better for everybody. We make the pie grow for everybody. If you want to live like a Republican, you got to vote for the Democrat. Conclude. It is time we had a president in this country who will be there on all of the issues that working families need, like health care and education and the environment and pensions and Social Security and Medicare and the whole line of issues that we need help on. But it's also time we had a president who will be there for labor unions and working families and won't have amnesia when they get there about these issues. Now, I get it. 4 more years. He's a bad president. He is not doing the right things for this country. He is not leading this country in the right direction. And so I ask you, whether you're from Iowa or Illinois or California or Wisconsin or wherever you're from, if you want to change this country, you can. If you want to change the labor laws, you can. If you want to change the health care situation, you can. If you want to change the situation with jobs in this country, you can. But we've got to go to work. We got to get every union family in the state of Iowa to come out at 6:30 at night on January the 19th and stand up for Dick Gephardt and stand up for the right causes in this country. And then it goes to the other states. If you take this seriously, and believe me, I believe politics is the most serious business in the country. When I see people going out and voting for Hollywood actors to be governors of the biggest state in the union, and people say to me, what's going on in this country? I say, you haven't seen nothing yet. You haven't seen the workers of this country. You haven't seen the people of this country get up on their feet for what they believe in. That's what's going to happen on January 19th and in all the other states.
Put it into Social Security? Would we put it into health care? Would we put it in education? And here comes W. And in a little over 24 months, he's turned everything on its head. He's lost more jobs than the last 11 presidents put together. He's lost more jobs than almost Herbert Hoover lost when he was president. This is a disaster. We've lost 3.3 million jobs since he's been president, and he doesn't have a clue of what to do about it. He has no idea, no program, no way of changing the situation. He only has one idea in his head. Tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans that he follows by tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans that he follows by tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. He's got to go. We need a new president who knows how to do this. Crazy program from the president that he's never funded, another unfunded mandate. Leave no child behind. I don't think he ever meant it. I don't think he's serious. I think he just wanted to have his picture taken every other day with some school kids. So he had to have a program so he could get that done. It's a program that is not funded. He's cutting education programs. We don't need to be cutting, we need to be adding. Look, what's the problem? The problem is privatize Medicare and Social Security right now. He's trying to do it in the prescription drug bill, and he's ran on it. He ran on the privatization of Social Security in the 2000 election. He's proud of his position. He wants to turn the money over to the New York stock market people because they supported his campaign. He'll always be after this program. So we need a candidate who will draw a line in the sand. One. I think George Bush thinks we're all separate and isolated. If you make it, great. If you don't make it, I don't think he thinks it makes any difference. It's called survival of the fittest. And my problem with it is that I don't think it works, and I don't think it's right. Places like Iowa today. He's a gift of God. He shouldn't be here. I will argue to you that the Bush tax cuts aren't as good as my health care plan to stimulate the economy. I will argue to you that my plan will create more jobs than the Bush tax cuts. I'll argue to you that my plan will put more money in the average family's pocket than the Bush tax cuts. About $3,000 a year as opposed to $700 a year that you get under the Bush tax cuts. But I'll also argue to you that this, in the end, is a moral issue. It is immoral to have people without health insurance in the world. We've got to, and let me just add on, the system we have is irrational. It is insane. This is not like any other kind of insurance, because people still get sick, even if they don't have insurance. They wind up in the emergency room with worse problems than they ought to have because they don't get the things that you need to prevent things from getting worse. And then we got to take care of that, and then that bill gets stuck on your bill whether you know it or not. We're paying for all this. It's worse than it ought to be. We've got to rationalize this system.
So I've got a very simple idea. When I become president, I'll ask the Congress to lay aside the Bush tax cuts. They haven't worked. And I will use most of the money to see to it that every person in this country has health insurance that cannot ever be taken away from them. Now, all the candidates have plans for health insurance. My plan is the best plan. And I want to explain to you just briefly how it works. What I say to every employer is you got to offer plans to your employees. I then give every employer a tax credit equal to 60% of the cost of whatever plan you choose. I force them to pass the money on to you if you're the employee. If they are not now giving you insurance, if they will go above 60% as their share, I'll give them 60% as a 20% or 30% or whatever they add on. If you already have insurance, they have to stay at the percentage they're at to get the 60% credit. So if they're at 80%, they got to stay there to get the 60% credit. I apply this to part-time as well as full-time employees. I apply it to retired employees as well as active employees. And I apply it to public employees as well as private employees. So I give a federal grant to the city of Tipton or the city of Des Moines or the state of Iowa for all of their employee health care. They get 60% of the cost of their employee health care. So this is a giant revenue sharing from the federal government to state and local government. Now, let me give help families
Deal with this responsibility. That's why I'm for more preschool and Head Start. That's why I'm for after school, so we're not sending the kids home to empty homes in the afternoon. That's why I'm for smaller classroom size, which we started in the Clinton administration, so teachers have more time with the kids to be able to get them to where they need to be, because a lot of the kids have problems today. That's why we need to help with the buildings, so that you have proper structures for kids to go to school. And finally, I've got Teacher Corps. A great idea that will build jobs and educate people to build jobs. I'll say to young students, if you'll train to be a teacher and teach where we need you for 5 years, I'll have the federal government pay your college loans. Don't you think it's time we started doing that? If it's good enough for the Marines, it's good enough for teachers. What we do is to educate and raise our children to be productive citizens. Nothing more important than that. I've got a universal pension plan that says we'll allow you to move your pension from job to job if you have a number of jobs, as most people do today, so at the end of your working period, you at least have one good pension. My mom, who many of you in this audience knew, died 5 months ago. She was 95 years old, was a wonderful woman. She was so good, so wonderful to me. She had one pension. She worked for 5 different employers. She wound up with one pension, $42 a month. But again, she was lucky. She had my brother and me, and we could help take care of her and buy her some of her prescription drugs and pay her bills and do the things that needed to be done. But it's wrong that you can work for 5 different employers and only have one $42 pension. So I've got a universal pension plan where you can pay in with tax-induced savings into a plan that's your plan, not your employer's plan, and none of this Enron stuff where they can, ruin your pension. And you can move the credits from job to job, so at the end of your working period, you at least have one good pension. Don't you think that's the moral thing to do in this country? And her question was, what would my plans be with regard to what's going on? Would I bring the people home? Would I put more people over there, and so on? Let me give you just a quick narrative on this. I voted for the resolution because I thought always my highest responsibility is to keep you safe. I did not take George Bush's word for this. I would never do that. I went out to the CIA, I talked to George Tenet, I talked to his top people, I talked to people who worked in the Clinton administration, and came to my own judgment about the threat and difficulty that Saddam Hussein and the Iraqis posed to the United States. I believe that we have to do everything in our power to keep you safe. If you don't understand 9/11, I don't know what we understand. And we cannot have weapons of mass destruction used in this country. I will do anything in my power to prevent that from happening. Having said that, I told the President over a year and a half ago, if he wanted to deal with Iraq or Afghanistan or any of these countries, he had to get the UN, he had to get NATO to help us. I've said that to him for a year and a half. He's not gotten this done. He didn't get it done before, which I thought he should have been able to do, and he hasn't gotten it done since. It is costing us lots of money. It is costing us lives and injuries. And it is incomprehensible to me that he cannot get us the help that we need. He said in his speech at the UN, this is an international problem, and it is. It's not just an American problem. But he does not go to these other countries with respect.